Senator Cruz, welcome back. What did you make of Judge Barrett?
I think she's very strong. She's performed beautifully in the hearings, calm, cool, collected. I think her temperament has been scholarly and judicial. And, I have to say the first day you had a couple of Democrats who tried to hit her with some hard questions, and frankly, they didn't have a chance. She sat at the table without a single note in front of her and just calmly answered their questions. And by the second day, by yesterday, the real news of yesterday is the Democrats have given up. By midday, they were all gone. There were only two Democrats left in the hearing room, and I think they realized they don't have a substantive argument when it comes to her credentials. Her credentials are very, very strong. They don't have an argument when it comes to her record. So they're mad, but they recognize that they're not able to stop this confirmation, and so she's going to be confirmed, I believe, by the end of the month.
Now, she is the AC 130 of nominees. There wasn't any target she couldn't hit. Nevertheless, Sheldon Whitehouse just distinguished himself. Well, Senator Harron is up there too, but Sheldon Whitehouse and that crazy Graham. And I listened to your entire rebuttal yesterday, but does he realize that's just a crazy Graham to the rest of the country?
I don't know if he does. I think he believes what he's saying. He's convinced there's some evil conspiracy, and it's, 5 Fortune 500 companies twirling their mustaches and controlling it all. And it really does seem like the whole thing in his mind is connected by red yarn from point to point on the board. It's a bit out there, and of course the irony is when it comes to money in politics and big business in politics, the Democrats overwhelmingly dominate the field in terms of billionaires trying to elect crazy radical Democrats, including Sheldon Whitehouse. So he happily takes advantage of the money, but what he wants to do simultaneously, what that fight is about is power. He wants government to have the power to regulate what you say and what I say. And it's all about protecting incumbents. And Democrats are the party of government. The more power the government has, the happier they are.
Now, if Twitter or Facebook were government, and they are not, what they did yesterday would be blatantly unconstitutional as viewpoint discrimination, perhaps even content discrimination. I think certainly viewpoint discrimination. You spoke out about this last night. Would you explain to people why it is ominous, though not illegal, what Twitter and Facebook did?
Well, so I've long been concerned about big tech censorship, and they're silencing conservative voices. They're silencing voices, shadow banning voices they disagree with. They crossed a really important line yesterday, and it was significant. The New York Post broke a story about emails discovered that indicate that Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, set up a meeting with his father when his father was vice president, and the officers from Burisma, the Ukrainian natural gas company that was paying Hunter Biden millions of dollars. Throughout all of impeachment, Joe Biden insisted he didn't know anything about Burisma. He wasn't involved. He didn't know what his son was doing. And so if this story is right, it means Joe Biden was lying, that he was very involved, and what he told the press and told everyone else was a flat-out lie. I don't know if the New York Post story is right or not. It seems to me that it raises some real questions that need to be answered. But what Twitter and Facebook did is they decided they didn't want anyone talking about it. So they banned anyone from linking to the story. So if you sent out a tweet that linked to the story and someone tried to click on the link, it came up with a page instead that's blocked you from the site and said this site contains dangerous information, which I guess it was dangerous for Joe Biden's political fortunes. But it was absurd, and they even took it a step further. The New York Post themselves were sending out tweets with their own story, as media outlets do. They blocked the New York Post. They prevented the New York Post from posting. The New York Post has the fourth highest circulation newspaper in the country. And to take the step of saying we, big tech, a handful of billionaires in Silicon Valley, are going to use our power, our monopoly over communication to shut down major press outlets running stories about allegations of corruption at the highest level. It is a stunning step in the abuse of power, and the politicization of big tech, and it. I think it's waking a lot of people up that big tech is getting much more brazen in how they use and abuse their monopoly power.
Now, in today's New York Post story, I preface this by saying I practice with big firms in Washington, D.C. I practice with big firms on the West Coast. I am retired now, except as general counsel of the Nixon Foundation and a few cats and dog matters for family and friends. And so you practice for big firms as well.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of big firm practice. I have never seen $1 million engagement letter. I have never seen any kind of an engagement letter from a communist Chinese official's deputy. And Hunter Biden got $1 million engagement letter in 2017 from a Chinese Communist Party. It's got to be connected. It's in Hong Kong. It's an energy company. You know how it works, Senator Cruz. Yeah. What does that engagement letter tell you?
Look, the evidence is starting to pile up that Hunter Biden's business model was selling influence and access to his dad, and that his dad, the evidence is also starting to pile up, was in on it and was willing to give access. And look, in the case of Burisma, we know that Joe Biden explicitly threatened the leadership of Ukraine that they would cut off $1 billion in American aid unless they fired the prosecutor that was targeting Burisma. And Joe Biden, he's admitted this on TV. Remember what Joe Biden said? He said, well, son of a bitch, they did. And what at the time Biden insisted is that he didn't know anything about what his son was doing. This New York Post story now suggests that he sat down and met with the oligarch and the business leaders of the company that was paying him off, that if we had anything resembling a functioning press, they should demand of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden that they answer these questions, and they answer them seriously and not just accept their brazen dismissals. Now, the truth of the matter is the press is so in bed with Biden, they just want him to win. They don't really care. They want him to win, and so does big tech, and it's an all-out push right now.
Now, Senator Cruz, I always give both sides of the news. The Democrats are cheered that the U.S. attorney in charge of the unmasking probe retired and no charges were brought. I am myself relieved that he did not issue a Mueller-style "we almost got you" report, because I don't believe in that. Either you indict or you don't indict, and he walked away. Does the fact that the unmasking probe was closed tell you anything about your view of the conduct of the Obama White House in the closing days of their presidency?
Look, I don't know the details of what the unmasking probe uncovered. I want to learn more of the details. Presumably, if the investigation closed, they concluded that there was no criminal conduct. Now, there's a difference between criminal conduct and unethical conduct. There can be all sorts of things that are unethical, targeting your political opponents, that don't cross the line into a provable and chargeable felony. So the inference that I take from it is they did not find sufficient evidence of criminality to charge anyone. That doesn't change what we know about how the Obama administration politicized law enforcement and the intelligence community, politicized the FBI, the Department of Justice, the CIA. We know now for a fact that as the Inspector General found, the Department of Justice had 17 material omissions in their submissions to the federal court, the FISA court, including giving to the court a fraudulently altered email that a lawyer on the FBI staff altered and created counterfeit evidence. At a very minimum, I believe that lawyer is going to be prosecuted, and in any other case, they would serve real jail time. But not only that, we now know that the FBI was basing all of this surveillance and targeting of the incoming president on the Steele report, whose primary source was an individual the FBI had been investigating for being essentially a Russian agent, was someone who was trying to recruit senior Obama administration officials to commit espionage. And we also know that in the summer of 2016, in the heat of the campaign, John Brennan, the head of the CIA, went and sat down with Barack Obama and personally briefed the president that the Hillary Clinton campaign had come up with a scheme to try to accuse the Trump campaign of being in bed with Russia. And we know this from Brennan's own notes, that he's admitted, yep, those are my notes, that's what I told the president. So any way you look at it, this stuff stinks. Now, I will say this, Hugh, I think a lot of people, there's so many details that they kind of get tired and your eyes sort of glaze over at Comey, McCabe, Brennan, like hearing all the names, after a while, I think people sort of tune it out. But I don't think we should tune out that Barack Obama and Joe Biden deliberately weaponized law enforcement and the intelligence community to target their political opposition. That is dangerous, and it is utterly inconsistent with centuries of apolitical, honorable enforcement of the law without becoming a political oppo research attack unit.
Senator Cruz, thank you. Good luck getting through the last day and getting to cast a vote for a third consecutive terrific Supreme Court nominee. Thank you, Senator.